All right, Richard, tell me again where we are once again here at this fabulous event, and how's it going so far?
Well, we're at Parkside on the corner of 6th and San Jacinto in Austin, and this is our annual breakfast event, our brunch event, whatever you want to think of it as. It runs from 9 to 12 on the Thursday of South by Southwest Music Week. So it's a great event. I love it. I get to see a ton of members that I don't normally see, and it's a real cornerstone event for us, really.
Talk about South by Southwest and A2IM's participation, and just what an event it is as far as networking and really connecting with members.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it is all about the networking, actually, South by Southwest. I know there's a lot more than that. There's all the showcases and everything and the panels. I'm doing a panel later today, but for me, the most valuable part of it is the networking, and often that's the parties as well. Not, today, this event, but then a lot of our members, many of our members, do their own parties and various different events and lunches and breakfasts and dinners, and that's a great opportunity to connect with people, see them face to face, and mostly the weather's pretty good here, and it's been amazing this week. So.
Now, you've been with A2IM for what, 10 plus years maybe? So what are your plans, your future plans, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so this is my 10th year. When I get to the end of this year, I'll have been here 10 years, which is amazing. But early last year, I decided, 10 years is good, and I think that it's good for the organization to have new leadership, and for me to go on, and I've got other projects I want to do, so this was the time for me to move on. So last Indie Week, I announced I was going to resign, and so I think my last day is January 3rd, 2026, something like that, and the search is on right now for my replacement. So I'm excited about that. I think somebody coming in new will bring fresh ideas and fresh blood. This has been an amazing job, I got to say. I don't have any regrets about making the decision because, I'm excited about my next phase, but I really, really have had no qualms about this job. It's just been fantastic.
What are you kind of most proud of as far as what you've done with A2IM, and what sort of kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Thank you. I mean, it's really hard to look at what you've done and see it as a legacy. I think that's for other people to judge what I did and what I didn't do. As much as I have done, there's a hell of a lot I haven't been able to do. Sometimes because I just couldn't get it done, and other times because maybe I didn't think of it. But there's a lot, really. I mean, we've grown the organization massively. We're many times bigger than we were, and our events are many times bigger. So Indie Week's, I don't know, 5-6 times bigger than it was when I started. Same with the Libera Awards. I'm very, very proud of the diversification that we've done. We have a much more diversified membership, but we also have a more diversified board, and I'm very proud of that. I'm really happy about the fact we were able to start offering a healthcare option, and that, I wouldn't say it's been, it hasn't taken off to the extent that I would have expected it to, but it's kind of growing gradually, and the people that are using it are very happy with it, so we're super happy about that. And goodness me, the other thing I suppose is that we coordinate with everybody else. Like in Washington D.C., there's a saying, or maybe I don't know if it's a generalized saying, but your enemy's enemy is your friend. And sometimes you gotta coordinate with, you gotta collaborate with people that maybe you disagree with them on 90% of the things they want, but you've got this one thing that you agree with in common, and you can get something done if you work together. So I'm kind of big on that. I'm big on trying to keep relationships open with the other organizations and make it so that we can actually get things done in DC. And I think we've gotten quite a lot done. The other thing is we've got a bunch of things that are sort of pending that we've been working on for years. So the HITS Act, which would mean everybody could get they could claim the tax back within the year that they created they created the expense for a recording or whatever. And we're very, very hopeful that it'll go through in the next big tax package. We've got the PWMA, the Protect Working Musicians Act, which is an antitrust exemption, which would be life-changing for the independent sector. Because right now, we can't even really talk to each other about deals. With the PWMA, any group of artists, managers, labels, publishers, songwriters, whatever, would be able to gather together and jointly negotiate deals, which would be life-changing. And it's kind of insane that we can't do that. When you think we're negotiating with the largest companies of all time, and they can divide and conquer with a small independent. They can just offer you whatever they want to offer you, and you have no leverage whatsoever as a small independent. Even as a big independent, you don't have much leverage. So that's going to be a very heavy lift, and we've had that out there for about 3 years now. But legislation takes a while. You have to be very patient with legislation. So there's all those things, really. I think the relationships with the other trade associations have been a big part of what I've tried to achieve, and I think we've done well with that. We're constantly talking to all the other trade associations, even when we differ on things, and that way we understand what the issues are, and we can work to come to some compromise that will work for everybody.
What do you see as far as the future of the music industry in general? What sort of trends have you seen, or what do you think is coming next? I know technology may still be on the forefront. A lot of those maybe applications that are connecting with fans and artists, and what other things have you heard from your members as far as the future of the music industry, where you see it?
Yeah, I think the big challenge with the music industry, the recorded music industry, is that it really isn't back to where it was in terms of revenue, the 1999 numbers. And, I don't say that as kind of like, we need to go back to 1999, but we should be seeing much higher revenue numbers than we did see in 1999. And if you do the math by adjusted dollars, we're still down about 35 to 40%. The actual dollar number is higher than it was in 1999, but, we've had a significant inflation over that time. And, we know how expensive everything is in the world these days. So I'd really like to see the music industry get back to not only the size it was, but the size it should be, because not only have we gone backwards in terms of our revenues, but the listening audience has increased massively. I can promise you in 1999, you didn't see everybody walking around with little white AirPods in their ears, and now you do. Maybe some of them are not listening to music, but a great deal of them are, and we're just not really seeing the revenue from that. So I'd like to fix that. But I'm seeing some really interesting new technologies come down the pike that I think might change things, and I don't think that's going to mean, it's not going to mean we're moving away from streaming. Streaming's been an amazing democratizer in many ways, but we need the revenue. The music industry is a relatively small industry at this point. I think it's 28 point something billion globally, and you look at gaming, which is many, many times bigger than that. You look at content creation, many, many times bigger than that even. So, I think music is one of those must-have things in life. People love music, but we're not seeing the revenue flow that's commensurate with the amount of love that people give music. So I like to say in America we show love by, U.S. dollars.
How do we change that around? How do we get the revenue back?
I think it's a number of things. One thing is, the DSPs could charge more. I think it's up to them. They have to make their own individual decisions, but at the same time, they're leaving money on the table. I know that they're in the subscriber business and they don't want to freak anybody out, but when you look at any surveys about subscriptions, music is considered to be the best value by consumers. It's, in every survey I've seen, it comes out as the best value and the least expensive in the consumer mind. And you look at what people are paying for Netflix and other subscriptions, and I doubt that anybody watches Netflix as much as they listen to music. So I think that music should be at least on a par with, the video subscriptions. So that's one way. But I think there are other models coming out now. We're seeing, we heard a lot of talk about the superfan, but there are some interesting new business models that are floating around that could change things significantly. And not everybody's going to do it. Some people listen to music on a very casual, lean back, kind of background kind of basis, and other people are really intense about it. They have artists they love, and right now it's kind of difficult for them to spend the kind of money that they would be prepared to spend on that artist unless they go to gigs and buy t-shirts and merchandise and those kinds of things. But we've seen that with vinyl. I mean, the independents do about 42% of their revenue from vinyl and CDs, from physical goods, and you don't see that with the major labels. They're doing well under 10%. So I think that there are a lot of opportunities there, and I'm seeing people developing technologies and business plans that fit into that kind of concept.
Is the music industry growing more globally? Are we reaching into more international markets than we once did, or is it just because we have the technology to maybe hear more stuff now?
No, I mean, I think that's really a great point that you make. The emerging markets are huge, and obviously the money that comes from the emerging markets certainly on a per stream basis are a lot lower than the money that comes from developed markets like Europe and economically developed markets like Europe and the U.S. Because India, for example, I think is 80% free, ad supported, and 20% paid, whereas we're the other way around over here. But I think one day that we're seeing those countries, increase their gross domestic revenues, and so that'll change. And but not only that, there's just a lot of people in the rest of the world, and even on a free subscription, they're bringing in a lot more money than we used to see. The question is, what are they buying? What are they listening to? And they're listening to a lot of American music, but they're also listening to a lot of local music. But then again, that local music is going global now, so we're seeing a lot more acts from places like, from other countries that we normally would never have heard of, that are, because of streaming, we're actually being exposed to that, and I think that's a pretty exciting maneuver as well.
Absolutely. Anything else that you want to point out, not only about South by Southwest, any more of your thoughts that you want to share?
Well, South by Southwest has been absolutely beautiful weather this year, which is amazing. I've had a really good South by Southwest. It's been fantastic. Seems like a little bit slower this year, but that hasn't been unwelcome, because it can be pretty crazy. It has been in the past, been pretty crazy. So in terms of the business, I think people are always going to love music, but the key thing is not whether they love it, it's whether we can monetize it so that we can keep the musicians alive. I really, if I have a deep concern at this point in my life, it's that we make sure that we don't kill the art of making music by not monetizing it enough. So somehow we got to figure that out.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. That was fantastic. We covered a lot of good stuff.
Thanks, Mark.
Appreciate it.